Hello, this is MJ. I love tokusatsu and comics, and this is my comics channel, Swing Their Comics. So I'm going to talk about a tokusatsu comic book. It's called Beast Heart Strikers, and it's being done by a creative team of Pitts, Hunter, and the letterer's name I'm going to have a really hard time pronouncing, so I will do that in a moment when I have the actual credits pulled up. But I do want to say that I saw an announcement for this the other day. I don't remember from who. It was somewhere on Twitter, and I decided, hey, I should check this out. It's tokusatsu. It's comic books. I like both those things. Let's do this. So we've got a Super Sentai themed team here. They're all based on animal spirits, and we have a cover here. I was a little surprised or taken aback by the sepia tone layered over this image of the characters here. I thought that was an interesting choice. The letterer is Frank Cvetkovic, I would think is how that name's Cvetkovic, maybe. I'm not sure how to pronounce that name. But I recognized something about the art, and I realized that it was probably done by the same guy, Joe Hunter, who did Red Gold Guardian Skater X, which has 2 issues out on Comixology. So I do own those, and I have read those. Maybe it's time to review them again, though. Read them again and review them again. Put them up next to this Beast Heart Strikers. So I've decided I'm going to start off negative and then go positive and then give my overall thoughts. So I guess I'm going to start with the lows, go to the highs, and then say overall what I thought about the comic. So first of all, I didn't like the idea that, after millennia of fighting, the bad guy was still very easy to beat. And that was displeasing to me. I didn't like that idea. And then this bit of dialogue here with the way he keeps losing to us, Lady Neve, so you know he can't be that smart to begin with. I'm either an idiot or that sentence needs to be reworked because it doesn't quite make sense to me. It doesn't have a flow to it. Anyway, also there was Neve, Nam, a lot of and Neore. I don't know. The names were a little funky for me. Also, I don't know. Is the guy in gold? Is he supposed to be the king? And is Naradia or whatever her name is supposed to be his daughter, the daughter of the queen, and who's dead? And is he supposed to be way older than her? Is his hair gray? Everybody has the same lines on their faces, crossing their nose and their cheeks a little bit. So I couldn't tell, is he supposed to have age lines on his face or not? And I think some of the other characters have a smirk or whatever too, and they get a line around their mouth. And obviously, cartoons, comics, they're abstractions, so you can't have you can have all the detail in there. If you've ever seen, any number of artists who do photorealistic art, not Greg Land, but people who do it for realsies, like Chuck Close, he was a painter. He would do these. He wouldn't just do black and white. Anyway, he would do hyper realistic paintings. They would look like photos. Anyway, I'm not demanding that. I just this style of face I have a big problem with, and that's kind of what I'll expand on more as I talk about the comic. But anyway, just the similarity in the way the faces are drawn. They're all very abstract, so it's very difficult to have any detail on them that's distinctive as far as making them distinguishable. They are very expressive faces, however, and that's a good thing. It's just, if I zoomed in, I couldn't see the eyes, the nose, and the mouth and know for sure, hey, this is this person. The heads get to be different shapes and things like that to give different impression of the character. But I don't know, I struggled with that a little bit. I actually have a little bit more to say about that. The just round black eyes, they feel a little soulless and dead to me. I know. Well, anyway, I'm weird about comics. My exposure was to 70s Marvel early on, and then I had I just caught the tail end of G.I. Joe and things like that. Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego, and the X-Men cartoon from the 90s, and Spider-Man, and all these shows that were going with character designs that were less abstracted and trying to be, semi-photorealistic on a budget. Captain Planet is another great one. So just the way these faces are drawn bugs me. And the same thing with Calvin and Hobbes. And anyway, I could go on, but I don't like cartooning. I've learned that there's more of a nuance to it and that the expression is more important, but I do have a bias against it. So I hope I'm not being unfair, because there is some great action and some great things done with these characters, but just I don't know, man, something about those cartooned faces really gets me, and I have a hard time dealing with it. And it's just, I'm just throwing it out there that I do have a bias against that, and I want to be fair in my assessment of this and just let that be known 100%, and be totally upfront about it. I don't want to be like the art teacher in traditional schools who criticizes their students for drawing anime style characters when that's most of the compelling animation that they may have been exposed to, or that happens to be their favorite style of character, because that stinks. So if you grew up on something else and therefore you have different character designs, that's fine. It's not a big deal. I'm the one who has to change. Anyway, what is done with the art, though, is fantastic. I love this Slash when they get to their Megazord type thing, their giant robot, or it seems like they all form into one body. Anyway, there's this great thing where they're fighting, what's the guy's name? Zellberg? Belzig? The Mothman guy that they're fighting. Anyway, back in the past, they're fighting him, and I'm going to try to go super light on spoilers here. I don't think this is a thing that's dependent on, you have to, not spoil the twist or else it'll ruin it, because I think it was better written than that. That's what I'm saying. Anyway, but still, I'll try to go light on details to make this compelling and enticing for people to go check out, because I think they should. I guess that's a spoiler for my review. Anyway, I really liked the... one of the things I like, or that I'm beginning to have an appreciation for, is like the uniqueness of layouts and things that can be done with... it's not graphic design, I don't remember how you call text design, but like the way text is designed and laid out, and like doing different things with the panels, doing the vertical slits to show like the passage time and whatever. Anyway, drawing the slash like sound effect and then having a slash cut through it is beautiful. Like in the moment, it just felt so good. I think Mothman was trying to like reason, or I don't know, gloat or do something villainous, and the heroes just abruptly slash through, cut him down, and end his little bit of speech, which is something I always wish the Power Rangers would have done. Like, hey, why don't you guys just get the Megazord, stomp on the thing, and then when it grows big, or as it's growing big, just stomp on it again, or like slash as it's coming up. That would be way easier. So anyway, I kind of like the genre, breaking or bending there with how they approached the big bad there at the end, but then also just like that, whatever, graphic text design with the slash going through. Beautiful, beautiful. And I noticed afterwards that that's actually on the cover. It's going through strikers on Beast Heart strikers on the cover. But that's a great thing, and it should carry through. I don't know whose decision that was, but that was a great decision. My hat's off to you. Things get better from there in the combat, which it was a little hard to understand exactly what was going on. There was something about digging a hole and like trying to get this monster they were fighting into position, whatever, in the... Well, anyway, the Beast Heart Strikers end up fighting, and, well, yeah, I won't spoil too much, but it was a little hard to follow, but panel to panel, things were exciting, and I could see, like, the progression of the little things that they were doing, all adding up to, the crescendo of the end of this fight, and that was really neat. I like the fact that they all have... unique powers, which, no big deal. That's a, Super Sentai type of thing. But, like, this kind of pushes it. They all have the same base suits, but their helmets are very different. And then it reflects what kind of powers they have based on, what kind of animal their powers are coming after. And they have, a great group transformation. And that was really fun to see. And I actually wanted to focus on that. But that's something I'll actually get to later. Actually, one more nitpick. I don't like that the bottom half of their faces are uncovered until they like get into action. I get why that's probably happening. It's probably for expression and things like that. It just, I don't get it. Why would you do that? Unless they're going to be eating and drinking in those. Whatever. But then there's a really great, so like I said, I criticized the faces, but very expressive, very good. There's this... I think it's a great comedic beat where I can't remember princess's name. She gets hit by a weapon, and it's supposed to, do this drastic thing to her, and she's, had it's been talked up basically, just in the panel before, and she gets hit with it, and she kind of looks at it like, oh, nothing happened, and then the next panel, excuse me, something's happening, and it really worked. It was an interesting build of tension, and then it hits that point, and I guess it pops with the laugh, and then like, oh no, seriously, something is happening to her. So I really appreciated that. That's excellent writing, excellent writing in the art as well. I guess I should say scripting, and then writing in the art. So this villain who's come to be known as Mothman, he and all his fellow, or I guess all his minions, are in this really cool looking like squid base that's anyway, it just looks really cool. It's like holding on to a bit of rock, and it looks like a factory, because they make stuff there like monsters or whatever, and it's very cool. It's orbiting Earth, just super cool, super classic, and I really like it. And it seems like all of the enemies are based off of cryptozoology. Like the foot soldiers are these mantis-y creatures, and they're not really, they're more like a nod to Kamen Rider maybe, but the rest of them, they seem to be these cool cryptozoology things. So like he's Mothman, which is Mothman. There's like a werewolf, it looks like. There's like a goat person. There's a chupacabra too. There's like a bunch of weird creatures, and it's really cool. I like the setup, and I like the feeling that there's all these enemies that the Beast Heart Strikers will have to face at one point. And honestly, everything that went on in the villain camp, like, it was interesting that they were pointing out, like, man, we keep getting beaten. This one guy is setting up all our attacks against the Beast Heart Strikers, or against, the Terrans, which I like that they call it like the Terran resistance or something, which is a cool little note, kind of geeky. They wouldn't call them the Beast Heart Strikers. They would just call them, kids, teenagers, Terrans, Earthlings, whatever, to be dismissive of them, or just because they don't know them. They're not, it's not like they have, Zordon's view screen where he knows all about them, each and every single monster, and can give it a name and all that stuff. So I like that. But anyway, so I like the setup, the feel, and the vibe of what's going on with the villain faction, and what development there is, because Mothman is really upset about what's going on. It seems like it's going to set the story up to continue, and for there to be at least a few issues of his campaign against them, and it'll create opportunities for more stories, for the Beast Heart Strikers to have victories, losses, whatever. I think it's interesting, and honestly, I would like to see the series continue. I'd be interested in getting more story, and seeing more of what these characters can do. There were some cool combat bits where we got to see them doing some interesting things, and well, I'd like to see more of that. I think there's a lot of interesting ideas here. It feels, and this is not an insult in any way, it feels like very much a pastiche of tokusatsu. There's a lot of Super Sentai in there. There's some Kamen Rider. There's some Power Rangers, I feel like, and it's all done fairly well. Like some of the dialogue was a little too quick. There's a little bit too much back and forth. Like, I'm supposed to know these characters already. I get the sense that they know each other very well, and that they've done this before, but like getting into it, I didn't catch everybody's names. I didn't want to have to go back. It was a quick read though, which I liked. It was a very quick read. It was very fluid. It all felt like it flowed, and that was commendable. And it was a lot of fun. It's just there were certain things I had a hard time remembering. Like the names, like one, they're new, and two, they're like different. They're high fantasy. Some of the names are like high fantasy, so it's like I can't, like, that's gonna take me a while to learn. And then as far as the characters themselves, I don't know that I got such a good vibe from each of the characters. Like, maybe I did, maybe I didn't. Like, we didn't spend that much time with them in their civilian forms. We got to see them all kind of being dumbfounded, hearing the story from the princess. I'm just gonna have to say the princess, and then who's their mentor, which I think is a cool idea. I like that, especially because she's battle hardened, and I think there could be some cool perspectives that she can share with them, or give to them that another type of mentor wouldn't be able to necessarily. But anyway, I don't know. I like the setup. I like what's going on. I'd like a little more time, and for it to be a little more, I don't know, kind of a better introduction to the characters. It'd be interesting to see how it goes in subsequent issues. And I don't really know that I have much more to say. Although I would recommend, definitely if you like tokusatsu, check out this comic book. I thought it was pretty cool. Probably some people into tokusatsu would like it more than I do because there's like, I don't know, there's some current deisms that aren't super that I'm not super into that are there that I'm sure other people would like really be excited about or really commend, but they're just kind of I don't know, they don't do much for me either way. So in summation, this is a definite recommend. I really enjoyed it. Like I said, if you like tokusatsu, I think you will too. And you know, good job to the creators. Just do a little more QC because there was some stuff that I thought didn't quite flow, and like I don't know, during the battle maybe the dialogue was like not quite getting across the point because it seemed like they knew what they were doing, but it was hard for me to follow exactly what the heck was going on. But I don't know if that was intentional. I doubt it was, but I don't know. Anyway, thanks for sticking with me. Check out mjmunoz.com for more of my work. I'm an aspiring author who will gladly accept your financial support through coffee, or you can buy merch from my Redbubble store. Swinging Through Comics can be found on YouTube, iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, and mjmunoz.com/stc. Relevant links are in the show notes. If you had a good time, like and share this. Subscribe, ring that bell to catch me next time I'm swinging through comics. Also, if you want, folks, you can check out, I recently did another tokusatsu review. It was Skullman, the Skullman manga from, I don't know what year, but by Shotaro Ishinomori. And that's on Swinging Through Comics. And then on my other channel, MJ Loves Toku, I recently reviewed Bishoujo Kamen Poitrine, Beautiful Mask Poitrine, which was a really cool show, and it's a different sort of thing. So if you're into tokusatsu and you haven't checked that out, you can find links to where to find it. I believe Mega Beast Empire put it out, and then you can watch my review and comment about it and talk about it because that was pretty cool, and I think you'd like it too. Anyway, that's all I have to say. Goodbye.